The Chinese Grand Prix is heating up. Ferrari needs to immediately wipe away the disappointing result and performance weekend in Melbourne, where the true potential of the SF-25 remained unrealized in qualifying and the race. This does not mean that at the 5.451-kilometer Shanghai International Circuit, the Prancing Horse will be the car to beat. McLaren once again starts as the favorite. However, what we saw last weekend in the Australian Grand Prix, after weeks of celebrations and grand declarations about the 2025 Formula One title fight, hardly seems credible. The performance of the Italian car in the Albert Park swimming pool was not real. This is the general sentiment within the Maranello team and among many insiders. In just a few hours, some doubts will be dispelled. In the meantime, we can analyze the images coming from the Chinese circuit, which are very useful for making a comparison on the approach to the chosen configurations, naturally, while awaiting all necessary confirmations from Friday's first free practice session. A first analysis is useful to understand how teams interpret the level of downforce. Let's not forget the importance of the car's balance, a factor that makes an enormous difference in determining the outcome of the weekend. Never before in the wing car era has such a performance gap been observed between those who get the setup right and those who only come close. All of this must be considered within the sprint race format. Ferrari continues working to optimize the SF-25 single-seater. The Prancing Horse has been widely discussed in the past race weekend, and thousands of words have been written by the media, with the rear wing being one of the most talked about topics. In the land of kangaroos, Ferrari opted for a version with more downforce than the track required. For many, this was not the correct choice, sparking various controversies over the reasons behind it. Just as in 2024, Ferrari is once again trying to optimize the car within a predetermined downforce range. And indeed, while we cannot rule out the possibility that another version might magically appear in the coming hours, for now, as anticipated, the Maranello team's technicians and engineers have decided to continue development using the same specification employed in the first round of the current 2025 Formula One racing season. The group of Italian engineers aims to maximize their understanding of the car with this level of vertical load, in an attempt to streamline the learning process. Keeping the layout of the Shanghai International Circuit in mind, this version is undoubtedly more in line with other teams. The idea is to optimize top speeds while still having good downforce in the support zones. As always, only the track will determine whether the choice is correct, depending on the type of load it provides. On this matter, one point needs to be clarified. One of the most important aspects of this reasoning relates to the necessary balance of downforce between the two axles, a fundamental factor in making lap time as effective as possible. Ferrari has conducted extensive studies in the simulator, and we know that a large part of the work has focused on addressing the endemic lack of rotation shown by the SF-25 single-seater, with the clear goal of making the car more neutral. During the only 60 minutes available in the first free practice session, which precedes the weekend's first qualifying session, the Maranello team will work to minimize the annoying understeer observed in the Australian event. For the sake of completeness, looking back at last year's Chinese Grand Prix, it appears that compared to 2024, Ferrari's engineers have decided to take a different approach to setup. Everything stems from the poor performance displayed by the Ferrari SF-25 in the second sector of the beautiful yet highly complex Eastern Circuit. Last season, from the pre-season testing session onward, Ferrari started with a less loaded rear wing in the on-track sessions at the Scuderia circuit, a setup that was then maintained and used for several Grands Prix in the early phase of the championship. Now, the Maranello team prefers a higher downforce version. The Shanghai circuit features a combination of high-speed corners, more technical sections, and medium-slow turns, along with a very long 1.2-kilometer straight. To tackle it effectively, a perfect balance between the front and rear is essential. Fast corners like turns 7 and 8 require good high-speed cornering, followed by the left-hand combination of turns 9 and 10, which penalizes cars suffering from understeer. Also iconic is the first corner, long and demanding, requiring a stable front end and good car rotation, as does the fast sequence of turns 11 and 12, which demands both a solid front and a rear capable of following the car smoothly while ensuring optimal traction. Finding the right aerodynamic compromise will be crucial. The long straight prevents teams from using overly high downforce setups, but at the same time, maintaining good speed in medium-fast corners is essential. Additionally, the Shanghai circuit is known for its high tire degradation, which is why teams will aim for a medium downforce setup to avoid excessive tire stress. Another factor to consider is the track's evolution over the weekend, as it was resurfaced in the final stages of 2024. The challenge, therefore, will be to find the perfect balance between cornering speed and straight-line efficiency to maximize performance throughout the Chinese Grand Prix weekend. Ferrari arrived in Shanghai in search of answers. The Chinese weekend will reveal how much of what didn't work in Melbourne can be chalked up to race weekend mistakes, influenced by technical choices and the unusual scenario in which the race took place. The verdicts that come from the international Shanghai circuit will be more clear than those from the Australian weekend and should provide a clearer picture of the potential of the SF-25 project. Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur expressed satisfaction about returning to the track so soon, less than a week after the Australian Grand Prix, emphasizing that the Shanghai race provided an immediate opportunity to move forward. The French manager noted that the Chinese circuit had entirely different characteristics from Albert Park and highlighted that, as the first sprint weekend of the season, it offered additional points to be won. The circuit layout will be different, as will the tire compounds, namely C2, C3, C4, in addition to the new track surface, and probably the temperatures. Additionally, there will be a minimal amount of free practice, with only one session on Friday morning, and then the setups will be frozen until the end of the Saturday sprint race. There is also the uncertainty about the condition of the track when the cars hit the track for the first free practice session on Friday morning. In the past, the Shanghai circuit has required several sessions before it gets rubbered in, at least on the racing line. The temperatures forecast for Friday will not exceed 18 degrees, while on the following 2 days, temperatures are expected to rise to 24 degrees. Frédéric Vasseur emphasized the importance of thorough preparation for the weekend at the Maranello simulator from a technical perspective. The Ferrari team principal noted that, as usual, there would be only 1 hour of free practice, part of which would need to be used to adapt to Shanghai's completely new asphalt. The Frenchman added that the Maranello team would focus on every detail to maximize the potential of the SF-25 single-seater in the second round of the 2025 Formula One Championship, and to provide the best possible support for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, who had always enjoyed racing on this track. Finally, it is worth pointing out that a small piece of good news at Ferrari came on Tuesday with the delivery of the material from Melbourne. In the Italian side's garage, everything arrived as planned, while McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes, and Aston Martin had to wait until late Wednesday afternoon in order to receive the crates containing all the technical material due to an 8-hour delay from 2 cargo flights.